Hello and welcome to this AEC TechTV show. My name is Arni Heiskanen and I'm a construction innovation agent based in Helsinki, Finland. My guest is Dr. Ken Dooley and we are going to talk about digital twins. Before recently joining Haltian, an IoT specialist company, Ken worked at Granlund, where he published a report titled Building Digital Twins, which he co-wrote with Jose Carlos Camposano. We made this recording on the 15th of December 2020. So, Ken, what are you up to right now, except having released the report?
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. So actually, I've just started a new job. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Empathic Building, which is a digital twin software, and it's in the company Haltian. And I'm also a postdoc researcher in Aalto University as well. So continuing to kind of keep a little bit of research from a part-time perspective as well.
All right. So excited to hear more about Haltian in the future, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
maybe we'll now talk about digital twins.
Yeah.
I know whenever we are talking about digital twins, we usually start with the question, what is it? What is a digital twin? What's your definition in the built environment context?
Yeah, I'm coming from almost a practical kind of frustrated digital twin kind of, let's say, stakeholder, and also we're kind of really looking at what the market needs and what can be provided today. So we have a very simple and practical definition. We think that the geometry, the digital replica, be it 2D or 3D, that it has to be up to date. It can't be an out-of-date PDF or interactive something. It needs to be up to date, and it needs to be embedded with some static and some dynamic data. So an up-to-date 2D floor plan with temperature sensors, for me, something as simple as that, but with real-time data and up-to-date geometry, that's a digital twin. And obviously we can add all kinds of extra complications on top of that, but that's the kind of starting point for me.
Yeah, sounds reasonable and practical, as you said. So, what motivated you to research on this topic specifically?
Yeah, so I guess the company Granlund that I've just been working for, and my last day was the day we published the report. Granlund have a really long history in building information modeling and in design, and also a long history in kind of the operations phase with real estate and energy and kind of facility management consulting. So I was kind of looking at both ends. But really, when speaking to customers who are kind of looking for having temperature sensors in buildings, or really from a smart building background, which I've been working on for the last couple of years, and I've been working on user experience in smart buildings, the kind of really small, simple solutions that I wanted, BIM felt too complicated to deliver it. So, it could be as simple as showing the lunch queue in a restaurant or in an office building, or even clicking the digital twin to show the lunch menu. Really simple kind of business cases and intuitive business cases. BIM felt almost too expensive, but almost too complicated to deliver those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, we often talk about digital twins and BIM almost always in this industry. But are there other myths about digital twins that we can bust or you can bust right now?
I think another myth is just take the data away. It doesn't matter if it's this kind of sensor or that kind of sensor. It doesn't matter if it's on a room or a floor level. The point of view is that the digital twin should provide a kind of an easier understanding of the data than if the data was on Excel, rather if the data is connected to a floor plan or some kind of digital replica. So if people kind of get obsessed about where is the data stored and about databases, they're kind of losing the point. Digital twins are more complicated enough. So I see it as we have data in something like an Excel chart, or we see data connected to the building rooms or floors itself. That's what we're talking about. Forget the data. It's about intuitiveness and understanding.
So what you're talking about is that you have a visual representation of the
Yeah,
of the data. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's the way we communicate.
yeah. And if a digital twin conversation is 95% about elements that are to do with the data side, then we're kind of getting distracted, and it's too complicated for us to get distracted. We need to focus on delivering a nice digital twin that people can use.
Well, in the report you talk about the hype curve, which is
Yeah, yeah.
and where on the curve are we with digital twins right now?
Yeah, so Gartner's hype curve for emerging technologies, digital twins last appeared 2 years ago, and their idea was it was 5 to 10 years away from being a really kind of productive mass market solution. So 2 years later, we're right in the kind of trough of disillusionment. We're basically the kind of, let's say, customers' expectations are at the lowest point. They're really frustrated, but the kind of people developing the technology are slowly kind of trying to bring it along the curve towards actually, towards productivity.
Mm. Well, is that one of the reasons why digital twins have not taken off as predicted in the construction industry?
I think if you have as simple a definition of digital twins as I have, then no, it's no excuse. I think any information embedded on an interactive floor plan, we could have had any stage in the past, and there are solutions in the past. At the moment, they're very disconnected. It might be a smart lock company who has an interactive floor plan which shows where their smart locks are, and then another company working in the same building might be a cleaner management system that shows which rooms the cleaners need to clean today. Um,
Mm.
the solutions exist, but they're really, really disconnected. And when you take the kind of, the digital twin almost like as a platform or as an enabler perspective, then the idea is that we should really have something that's a central element that all of those different third parties are using.
Yeah, and quite often when we talk about digital twins, we are imagining some sort of a one solution, one twin. But in the report, you talk about four types of twins. What are they? What kind of value do they offer, and to whom?
Yeah, so it's really important here that we've interviewed a really wide range of stakeholders. So we've interviewed kind of people representing end users and owners, investors, asset managers, facility managers, service providers like cleaners or reception staff, and then, equipment providers. So we've really had a really wide ranging opinion of, I would like the digital twins to solve this problem. So we've really looked at it from a kind of wide stakeholder view, but then also in our four kind of solutions, there's a maturity as well. There is a kind of an inherent feeling that some of these are relevant to our report because we can deliver them now, rather than kind of, in 5 to 10 years, the landscape is different. So with that in mind, we've kind of split them into simple digital twins and complex digital twins. The simple digital twins mostly come from the kind of financial managers and the investors. They might have, for example, a number of shopping centers that they own and that they're leasing out. They mightn't have been to the shopping center in a year or two, but actually they find out, Unit 7 is up for a lease next month, and they have the details in some kind of database that tells them who the tenant is and when it's expiring. But that's much more intuitive if they can see on the floor plan an indication of it's on the first floor, it's next to this flagship customer, and they go, oh, it's that space. Okay. So they want almost like a Power BI or a business intelligence dashboard where the space they click or the floor they click is illuminated alongside the kind of information. So that's kind of really the simplest version. The next version up is really just providing an interactive 2D floor plan or very simple kind of 3D wireframe model that is really just there for third parties. It could be as simple as just someone walking around a building doing an annual inspection, and they say, okay, there's a crack here, or there's a chunk out of this wall. We need to send someone in to fix it. That they can attach those inspections onto something interactive, and it's much easier to understand to send it in the chain of who has to do it. So lots of different simple use cases where 2D is enough. The next one then is the first complex digital twin, which is really based around, energy and facility management and building services, MEP kind of use cases, and they maybe have more to do with the kind of MEP digital twins and building information models, and they're built around energy management and predictive maintenance, and maybe even simulations of energy, maybe the day before. And then the top level is the all-conquering, mythical, as-built digital twin, where all different models are in there. And maybe if you break a window pane, you can click the window pane, and it tells you exactly what the model and size is, and you can almost order it from that digital twin. The kind of science fiction version. And definitely there's a maturity there where the simple digital twins, the 2D interactive and the business dashboard, we think are available now, and they're the things we should focus on in this short term, this 3 to 5 years, rather than getting distracted by the big long term things. Actually, people's problems could be solved by working on the simple ones today.
So maybe that's your main message of the report.
Yeah, and I think that is the main message of the report, and I think understanding the maturity as well, um, and obviously the new company I'm working for are working on this kind of interactive, simple digital twins. But I think for the construction companies and the people who really want to build business on the complex digital twins, it kind of gives them a bit of a mandate for 3 to 5 years, that certain things need to be organized. So some of the stuff from speaking to contractors, there's some really good quotes in the report where, contractors don't even know if the owner or end users are going to use the building information model as a digital twin. There's no mandate to produce something. There's no extra costs to produce something. So even the business model, as far as to use a Skanska word, kind of something like digital delivery, that the as-built building information model would have more care taken to it, and more than just digital delivery, but also integrating the BMS and any IoT and any kind of room booking services. That the business model doesn't exist for that, and the construction companies are in kind of driving seat to be a really strong part of that, but no one is paying them to or really asking them to. So beyond just the technology of getting data out of twins and having them scalable, so that 5 or 6 as-built building information models can be machine readable in the same way. Not only is there that technology about using them in a scalable way and interoperability, there's obviously technology around VR and AR use cases and simulation use cases, but there's also the kind of business model doesn't work. So we've highlighted kind of those things. We've kind of said, the simple digital twins will be rapidly accruing some kind of customers and some revenue and some credibility in the next 3 to 5 years. And then it's really interesting in 5 years' time what the landscape looks like, and if, as the complex business cases mature, if they'll rebound and really kind of conquer the market again. So there's some kind of fun questions for people to consider as well.
Yeah. So my question that I thought before this interview was that whose business are digital twins eventually?
Yeah, so that's a kind of really good question, and I guess the customer landscape we're saying is much wider than the BIM perspective lays out. So a cleaning company or receptionist staff kind of want these kind of solutions to make their operations more efficient. So I think any of building stakeholders, kind of, it's their business. The people that can actually kind of really kind of make business from it, it's kind of really interesting. I think in the next few years, it is these, in Alto, we're studying these kind of smart workplace solutions. So like Comfy in that Siemens have, or like Empathic Building, or these kind of things. We've studied 35 of them, and they're really growing as a business area. So in the next couple of years, those companies will grow, but definitely in the long term, the kind of BIM community, to kind of capture them today, there's a lot of business for them in the long term.
Well, we are still talking about technology, of course, when it comes to digital twins. So How can we make sure that what we are doing today with today's technology will serve in the future? Because buildings have a long lifespan, typically.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess that's the kind of nice thing about what we've seen already is that they're what I call software first or software dominant. So we're not covering buildings full of hardware or new kind of equipment or whatever it is. A lot of the use cases, we're talking about like a Power BI dashboard here that really helps people and makes things more intuitive. So I think that's another nice thing about the kind of the simple digital twins. They are software dominant. We're not making huge investments or huge decisions on the future. And beyond that, it's kind of really hard to say with how buildings will be used in the future. But I still think that for all the different stakeholders, we need a user interface. And that's what these simple twins are kind of offering at the moment.
So if you're starting today to build your digital twins, how should you start?
Yeah, I guess the challenge is, what group, what function, or what building type are we going for? The office side is mature. In my smart building history, which I've been working on for the last couple of years, and I've been lucky enough to kind of be invited to give some kind of international keynotes over the last couple of years. I've always talked about it is kind of solve the kind of end users' problems. Definitely in knowledge organizations, there's this feeling these days that staff costs are 90%, and after that, rent is 9% and energy is 1%. So I would angle the digital twins to really support everyday, everyday tasks, kind of really around employee experience, really around employee performance. That's something we really focus on in Empathic Building. And then, the other layers of the onion come after that. If we have really good room booking solutions that are one-click booking for the end users, then you can do all kinds of, space efficiency or cleaning schedules or these kind of things. So I would start with Office, I would start with the end user, and I would kind of add the kind of features and problems around that, let's say, kind of core.
So the report is available online for to download. I can include the link in the show notes. But
and it's a pinned tweet on my Twitter account, which is at Ken Dooley as well, which is easy to find.
Okay, so and that's the way to contact you as well, maybe?
Yeah, people can find me there.
Okay. So Ken, thanks again for this very interesting discussion. Great. And I'm looking forward to what you will be doing in the near future, and what hopefully we can talk about that in the future as well. Okay, so
great.
Thanks,
you very much.